Well, now there we are. It's good evening. This is Sunday evening, the last day of April in 2017, April 30th. And Andrew Smith and I are here again to talk about the potential for severe weather across Virginia tomorrow, May 1st, on May Day, as a matter of fact. And we'll go through the details, but the Storm Prediction Center yesterday had us in the day 2 marginal risk, and then today, or I'm sorry, I guess it was the day 3. And today, the day 2 we're up to a slight risk for tomorrow, with an enhanced just above Virginia Maryland border. So we'll take a look at those ideas. But let me toss it over to Andrew and let him chat for just a second.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. We were talking right before we went on air here about we're noticing some issues with the models currently not handling the current situation very well, because if you look at current radar, which I'll just pull up the real quick so you can just kind of get a quick feel of things. Let me get the screen share going. So just looking at the SPC page here, I'll let it pop up there. You can see the current leading edge of the squall line that's just been churning across the south all day. It's already pushing into the eastern Tennessee, getting close to the Cumberland Gap area. And if you look at some of the models right now, let me pull up the current run of the 3K NAM. And the issue that we've been noticing is that the models are way behind and where the storm system would be about right now. This is valid for 21Z, which is not too long ago, and the storm is still sitting way out west of Nashville. And geographically, that's a big chunk of land when you're dealing with timing of a system coming through, especially overnight, when the SPC has an area of Western Virginia highlighted.
Right.
With the thinking of daytime heating and whatnot, Western Virginia would get the bulk of the instability with the storm system pushing through, and then Eastern Virginia would kind of get some of the nighttime squall line moving through. But just the timing of the models right now isn't adding up to a very clear picture of what's going to happen tomorrow.
Yeah, and as we were chatting before we pushed the button here, lately I've been actually relying on a combination of several of the short-term models, because none of them seem to be handling things really well. So I've kind of looked at a mishmash or a group of them and seeing if there's any trends, anything to look at. One of the things that the most of the short-term models picked up on today was the threat in Northwest Virginia. And there's a stalled front up that way, and the thought was if storms would go up and interact with that front, then there it could very well cause some interesting things. And sure enough, I'll do a screen share here. There was a tornado warning. Storm came out with a tornado warning on it, and you can see it right here. If it's up, here's the storm. If you can see my cursor there, here's the storm that went up, and right here is the remnants of that. It's a stationary boundary, stationary front up there, and it went up here in northeastern West Virginia.
Still there, Chris?
Well, let's see. Got a couple of things I'll pull up here. First of all, let me go back to here and share this. This is the got the right button here. This is the.
Chris, I just lost you there for a second, but I'm back.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure my internet is fully competent at the moment. So hopefully this is being pretty good here. Here is the day 2 risk areas from SPC. And you can see a good chunk of Virginia there is in the slight risk, the yellow area. And then some of the margins are in a marginal risk, no pun intended. And then actually just north of the Mason-Dixon line, they've got a enhanced risk up there, because that's where most of the upper level support is. And then to go back to what I was talking about with some of the upper level support, let me pull this up. If I can get to my right screen, do this. Okay. Is that up yet?
I believe so.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So here we have, this is at 21Z tomorrow. This is the latest GFS run. And this is the 200 millibar winds. These are the 200 millibar winds, or the upper level jet. And you can see there across the Ohio Valley and kind of bisecting Kentucky, there's a jet maximum, if you will. So here in Virginia, we're kind of at the right rear entrance flow of that jet maximum. That tends to focus or to pull up a mass of air, which tends to give uplift to the overall situation. So let me go from here, and I'm going to shift down to pulling up this one. This would be the 500 millibar vertical velocities. Let me run this forward to, come on, here we go, 21Z tomorrow, and you can see this is at 500 millibars. So this is almost 18 to 20,000 feet, and you can see a pretty good maximum of uplift up here, literally, bisecting the state of Virginia. That's what's going to enhance storm formation tomorrow, because at this point at 21Z, at least according to the forecast models, the surface front is still back here, probably up the border of Ohio and West Virginia, and then down into Kentucky. So the firing mechanism, I think, is going to actually be this right rear level or right rear entrance jet, flow jet, at this giving some uplift at 500 millibar. And then, of course, there also could be a lee trough, east of the mountains, it's simulated by that. That usually works to fire storms here, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, yeah. The classic afternoon storms here in the state, right off the mountains.
Yeah. And come on, here we go. Can get my screen to move around. So that's what I think. What's going to happen tomorrow is that, and you were looking at some stuff earlier, that this squall line is actually going to come apart. It could come across the mountains and look like it's going to come apart. We'll have some morning showers. About what time are you seeing that?
Let me pull it back up here. The models were kind of having a hard time handling that one again, but it was kind of looking like early morning. It was going to, whatever was left might come through and spring a shower or two, but it certainly wouldn't be anything intense. Yeah, it's looking about the 12Z time frame, maybe even 9Z. Yeah.
Are you there?
Yep, just came back.
Yeah, I think my internet's is dropping out, so
I got you.
Apologize for that. I think we're at the end of the cable line here, and with all the rain we've had, who knows what's might be a junction box somewhere that's not doing well.
Amplifier is probably shot or something like that.
Yeah. So anyway, I think the debris from the early morning stuff is going to muddy the waters, but it's not going to prevent convection, not with that upper level support.
No, when you have that kind of forcing coming in, you'll get something firing. You're not that dependent on subtle things falling in place when you've got a front pushing through.
Right. And I had looked at, maybe you had too, I'd looked at some of the instability parameters, and let's see here. Let's see about the shear. I looked at the U-cape and shear values, and if I move this forward, I'll share it if I can get it to the right place. All right, let's see if we can share this. Now this is, again, from the GFS, which is a bit more conservative than the NAM and the other stuff. Is that up there?
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you notice here, the shear vector, I mean, the shear itself is in the neighborhood of some of these are like 50 knots. This is the bulk shear, 50 knots across Virginia. If you notice the orientation, that's pretty much lined up with both the instability axis we talked about earlier and when the eventual surface front comes through. So what that tells me is that the storms are going to go up, and you got to, if you want to chase them, which of course that's another thing we'll talk about, is chasing these things. They're going to go up, and they're probably going to coalesce very quickly into a squall line, given these shear vectors are oriented almost parallel to the axis there.
Right.
So
you know, I've been looking at the HRRR here, just trying to get its feeling on things, and it's like we were talking about earlier. It's very slow on pushing stuff through. I mean, I'm looking at 16Z tomorrow, which would be about noontime ish, and you know, it's just starting to get the stuff into the state of Virginia. So it's something's going on here where it's kind of throwing a wrench in. At least like you said earlier, the short-term models are having a difficult time handling what's going on here. Because I was trying to get a feel, because a lot of the reflectivity things I've been looking at has the system just completely dissolving across Virginia. And one thing I'm noticing, but I'm just having a hard time pinpointing, is it looks like there's going to be a fair amount of inhibition, SIN across the state, which in the past has been, even with storms going, has been known to choke them off as they head east. But up towards Pennsylvania, SIN is pretty weak, and the storms are staying a little more robust. So that could be an issue to deal with tomorrow when things do finally get going, at least closer to this part of the state. Further west, it doesn't seem to be as much of an issue, but again, with the timing, it's hard to get a good grasp on what's going on there.
Right. Yeah, and I think one of the things that always, again, it makes it interesting here in Virginia is the fact that, you know, once you get east of Interstate 95, you have some extra moisture over that way, depending on the wind direction coming off the Atlantic. Mm-hmm. But this time it seems like the instability and the good moisture is going to be coincident with this instability axis, the upper level instability axis. So mm-hmm. That's why I think the Mu Cape and values, surface-based Cape values were pretty good, but the Mu Cape values were decent because I think that moisture is kind of hanging in there as this instability axis comes through.
Mm-hmm. And being this early in the season too, you know, the Atlantic just off the coast of Virginia and Maryland and Delaware, it's still pretty cold, so it can almost act as a stabilizer more than a boost to these storms. But if you got enough flow coming up from, you know, the Carolina portion of the Atlantic, you could overcome it. But if you're dealing with stable air coming in off the northern Atlantic right now, that could be part of the reason why I'm seeing this SIN bubble kind of lurking around the Chesapeake Bay.
True, because this time of year, especially when you get these quick warm-ups and cool downs, that you know the water there in the bay and the Atlantic, you know, acts as a moderator because it doesn't warm up or cool down as quickly. So, you know, you get a nice hot day, and then you get a breeze off the bay. You know, within a few miles of the bay, it's a lot cooler than it is further inland.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that could be something that might be playing into this, but I'm going to peruse a few more parameters here to see if I can get a feel if that is the actual case or not.
Okay.
Yeah, well, I look at surface temps right now, right off the Atlantic coast. It's 60 degrees off Wallops Island, so yeah, that's some stable maritime air sitting right there. Yeah,
of course. On the other hand, if these storms have enough oomph behind them, but by the time they get to that area, you know, you run into almost a situation of another wedge front that these things could spin up along even more. So if they don't have rotation on them at that point, they could very well spin up when they hit that boundary of coming in from the water.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. It'd probably be, I don't know if you'd call it a sea breeze boundary, but certainly some kind of boundary there sitting between the more unstable air inland and the cool sea breeze air sitting on the coast.
Well, and go ahead.
Go ahead. Well, I was going to say, it's kind of what we saw the other week with the storm that rode along the 58 corridor with the wedge just slowly settling south, and it was just riding right on that, churning on the boundary until it got completely undercut by the cold front and lost its surface base nature. Yeah, I was chasing that day, and it was besides the fact that visibility was horrendous because everything was extremely rain wrapped. That was a very frustrating day because that circulation I couldn't catch up to. First of all, I couldn't see it. I could see it on radar, but I couldn't see anything visually. And then by the time I got to a point where I could, you know, really zoom east on 58, it was well ahead of me. So I just bagged it that day. All right. But speaking of some of the differences between the models, let me pull up a sounding. This is from the
I think it's from the Bedford, Lynchburg area. It'll come up there. And if you look at this, look at what it says over here to corner. Not that I believe it. PDS tornado.
Yeah.
That's a little much, but the parameters are pretty much every. Look at the strong winds and look at how they back as they go down. Yeah, it goes from basically southeasterly to southwesterly as you go up to 500 millibars, and then the parameters are the Cape is way up there, and I think if I remember right, I can't read this at the moment, but I think the what you call it, significant severe, yeah, it's over 30,000. The Cravens-Brooks parameter. And I think the supercell composite parameter is like double digits. So
yeah, it's at 12. Yeah.
So
I'm trying to see what the 0 to 3 Cape is, but I don't see it very well on this particular sounding.
Yeah, it's kind of, I don't have it. I guess maybe I'll see if I can blow it up a little bit.
I was just curious to see. I mean, I don't think it's going to be this kind of setup, but I was just a little curious to see what kind of low-level instability we'd be dealing with.
Yeah, all of the Cape values, surface-based and most unstable and mixed layer, are all in the neighborhood of 1,000 to 1,500. So that's not, it's okay, but it's not tremendous. But the storm relative helicities on this are 300 to 400 or higher.
Yeah, that's impressive around here.
Especially the surface to 1 kilometer. It's like 349. That's really, if that happens, there's no way you can keep that storm from spinning, So, but that's just again, go ahead.
I was going to say the storm Slinky, which is just underneath the hodograph. I guess it's kind of a little more layman's terms version of the hodograph. It's got that nice curved nature to it, which would correlates well with the hodograph just above it.
Right. Yeah. If we move the hodograph over just a little bit and kind of pull it down and take a look at it there. Yeah. So, but again, this is a 3 kilometer NAM. It's a little more what do you call it? Optimistic than the other models.
That has been the more optimistic model, I feel like, as of late, and sometimes it's been a good thing. Other times it's been kind of a disappointing thing. But one of these days it'll get things right. Yeah,
exactly. Now, I mentioned some of the other models that I've been looking at, the convective allowing models, the short-term ones, other than 3 kilometer NAM, a 3 kilometer NAM. I'll get it out in a minute. And if I can get this to show, my internet's being really slow.
I'm on Pivotal Weather, and it's going kind of slow right now.
Yeah, as well. That's kind of what I'm on. Let me. I'll screen share this, and we'll see if it'll do anything.
It's popping up now.
Okay. Well, this is.
There it is.
Okay, this is the HRW WRF model, and this is the this morning's run 12Z. So if I step it forward, this is hour by hour. This is the simulated reflectivity, and you can kind of get an idea of what's going on here. As a matter of fact, if you look up here, kind of in the northwest Virginia area, that's kind of where that boundary was that was laying that one tornadic warn storm fired. And then if we step this forward, here's overnight. Things kind of fall apart, but then it rejuvenates this, in the early morning hours. And kind of, as you mentioned, it kind of has a few showers out ahead of it in the Piedmont before lunchtime tomorrow, actually. Then as you step forward, here's 21Z. That's 5 o'clock on this particular model, and you can see the line is essentially just entering and not just getting ready to cross the Blue Ridge Mountains here in southern Virginia. And you can see it going on up there into New England. And then we bring it across, here's 0Z, that's 8 o'clock, 8 p.m. It's kind of bisecting the state. So this one I find is, this particular model happens to be a middle of the road solution, if you will, if you compare them to all the rest of them.
Right.
You can see here at 0Z, here's this one track that goes basically almost toward Fredericksburg of a storm with a lot of upper level updraft helicity, which is an indication of rotation.
Looks like it's pretty much following the Route 208 corridor from Louisa right up to Fredericksburg on up into Stafford.
Right. So if you could believe this particular solution, you would think that that area would have to be prepared for at least a severe thunderstorm warning, about dark tomorrow, if not maybe a tornado warning. But it's way too early to put your money on a model like this.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I'm looking at the supercell and SIGTOR parameters for tomorrow. This is still looking at the 3K NAM. Nothing extreme by any means. Kind of peaking around 2 or 3, or maybe upwards of 5, but nothing off the charts. I think SIGTOR is in the same boat here. Yeah. What I'm having a hard time getting a feel for, at least in the 3K NAM, is what's going to go on further north into Pennsylvania, where they do have the enhanced risk outlook for points up there. It looks, some of the forecast reflectivities look very robust up there, but I'm having a hard time seeing other things going into that to see what's feeding into that robust storms that it's picking up on.
right, and the only thing that I could surmise was it has to be the upper level support, because that area is closer to the core of the jet that's going through up there.
Right.
So I mean, I don't think the moisture is going to be as good up there for sure as it is down here.
Now, if I pull up Cape, this is looking at, I think, just after dark tomorrow. This is pushing late into tomorrow. Let me back it up here just a hair. Yeah, Cape is marginal at best, 1,000, maybe 1,500, but certainly nothing strong. So this is one of those kind of low Cape, high shear situations, it seems like.
Right. And then again, based on what happens this morning when that early round of showers comes through here in Virginia, it may or may not leave cloud cover. But even if it does, if it leaves scattered cloud cover, what may very well happen, and by cloud cover, that could also mean an overcast, a high level overcast. Mm-hmm. But if there's a differential heating boundary, if there's sun on one county and cloudy in the next county over, that differential heating could provide enough boost along there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, looking for those just very subtle boundaries, what that early morning convection can do. Those are the little things that are hard to forecast, even in a near-term environment, to pinpoint where they'll be and what they could do to, kick a storm up to the next level.
Exactly. So, I'm planning to chase tomorrow. I'm planning to go out and probably, want to be in place. I'm guessing, my initial chase target, I'd want to be in place by about 4 p.m. or thereabouts. Mm-hmm. Of course, I'll take a look at, things in the morning, but I'm interested in getting on the storms early, as watch for the updrafts, get on them early, because I do think they're going to coalesce into a line fairly quickly within probably an hour or two, certainly within a couple hours of going up.
Yeah, I think my way, it's going to be more of a judgment call, just seeing what time activity is going to get here, if it's even going to have daylight to deal with over here. Certainly nothing before 5 o'clock. I don't think. It's probably pushing 6 or 7 o'clock over here. And then you start, it's 8:30 now, and there's waning daylight outside. So, if it gets here at about 6:30 or 7, you'll have maybe about an hour to do something with. Maybe catch a good shelf cloud, because it's probably gonna be lined out by the time it gets here. But it'll be kind of a fly by the seat of my pants kind of chase. Just see how it comes together.
Right. Well, you do have the benefit of being east of everything. You can watch it come at you, so that that helps.
True. That is beneficial sometimes watching. I feel bad sometimes. I'll see something pop up, and I'll see your spot on the radar, kind of trying to keep up with it, and then it just takes off, and I'm sitting downstream of it waiting for it. But then half the time it gets to me and it dies off. So.
Yeah, that was a big adjustment when I moved here to Roanoke from living in Fredericksburg. It's the same thing in Fredericksburg along that I-95 corridor. I could just literally watch the radar, watch for things to pop up, and then maneuver to get in the right position as they came at me. Here you have to anticipate it, because like you said, if you wait for the storms to go up and then try to catch up with them, that tail chase is futile, because the roads here don't go north, south, east, west. They go wherever they want.
Yeah, they go all directions.
So the storm doesn't care. It's booking off to the northeast at whatever 35, 40 miles an hour.
Right. So we'll see how tomorrow goes, at least over this way. I think you have a better shot of seeing a little more discrete, a little better structure kind of storms. And then as things head this way, I'm I'm more worried this way of what this potential capping might do to the system as it moves this way. At least every reflectivity, forecast reflectivity I've looked at as everything's pushed towards the 95 corridor has showed it dying off. So I'll be keeping a close eye on the ruck all day tomorrow and see what's going on with the SIN level, the SIN values around here, and if that's going to be playing into keeping the severe weather at a minimum, at least heading towards the 95 corridor.
Yeah, and as far as I just taking a real quick peek ahead. I remembered I have not looked really close at things further ahead, but later this week, it looks like on Friday you'll have a better shot at chasing than I will, because it looks like there's a system that's going to really tap into the moisture and instability on your side of the state, basically, well east of my area and more along the I-95 corridor.
Okay, I hadn't even gotten that far ahead myself yet, so.
I hadn't either. I saw something in a discussion. I don't know if it was SPC or local forecast office, and I just happened to pull up the energy helicity index, the 0 to 3 kilometer, and it's showing some pretty good values there out in your neck of the woods on Friday afternoon.
Let me look into the crystal ball here. Friday afternoon GFS, see what's going on this way.
Yeah, I think it's another front coming through.
I gotcha. Too far ahead. Yeah, there's a little something peeking there, so that'll definitely be worth keeping an eye on for sure.
Yeah. I think over this way, I think we'll be behind it. But, of course, with this far out, the timing can always change. So, who knows? It might be one of those chases where I chase a storm and hand it off in your direction.
It's teamwork, you catch it to start, and I see it's way off the coast. So
exactly, and as long as people stay tuned to our streaming videos on Severe Studios, then they can keep up with the whole thing, right?
Exactly. Watch it from start to finish.
Yeah. We'll have to send Corey Hartman a bill for advertisement.
I'm sure he'd be pleased.
I'm sure. So, well, that's about my limit of my analysis for tomorrow. Like I said, again, getting up in the morning and checking to see what happens with the overnight stuff, seeing where outflow boundaries might be laid down, or sun and cloud boundaries might be. But pretty much, I've got an idea about when I need to be at a target. The question is now where, and then so I'll define that in the morning sometime.
Yeah, I agree. I think seeing where things are in the morning is going to be critical to figuring out the setup for tomorrow, just given the issues we've been seeing with the models this evening and the timing of everything. So tomorrow morning will be critical to determining how tomorrow's going to play out, I believe. Okay.
Well, cool. Well, failing any other wisdom that we can impart to anybody, I think maybe we can wrap this up, and we'll, if indeed Friday does look good, maybe we can reconvene either Wednesday or Thursday night.
Yeah, we'll have to see how things turn out and get another discussion going.
And I'll see if I can scramble up a guest next time. I'm sure I can find somebody. I didn't do it this weekend because I figured a lot of people were scattered for the weekend. So
yeah, Sunday night too. Everybody's kind of getting ready for the week too. So
right. All right. Well, that's it for us here talking about Virginia storms and storm chasing on Sunday night, looking at Monday, May 1st. But again, as we just said, we may be back this week checking later, like the Friday toward the end of the work week. So stay tuned and we'll get that word out. Have a good evening.
Sounds good. All right, y'all have a good one.